Resting in Baolan province for one day, they began the journey to Xin Huang on the next day. At dusk, they finally saw that majestic castle. In this vastness, everything was so silent as the wind stirred up waves of grass in the plains, carrying the withered leaves along. This was truly the weather of the Wel Empire, with the unique taste of the wind and chill. Chu Qiao lifted the curtains to the carriage, revealing the scenery of the massive city gates towering over them. Vast in the crimson shade of the setting sun, she was suddenly reminded of how back in the day, she and Yen Sun relied solely on each other to survive in this gigantic prison, while hating everything around them, hoping that catastrophe would befall this city and wash all those glories away. After spending all of their effort planning, they were finally able to carve a bloody path through this prison that had held them for over 8 years. Yet today she had willingly stepped foot into this city again, as she entered this suffocating city again. 6 years ago, she had left this place for a man. 6 years later, she returned to this place for another man. The changes in fate are ever so amazing. Even movement by a single stop results in an unknown that one could never fathom. Despite that, one must keep walking on as the wind blew past one's ear. It gave off a small whimper. A hand suddenly stretched out from behind, bringing her into an embrace. Yuan Yu's voice resounded from behind. Extremely peaceful he was. His very tone seemed to calm people down. "Don't worry, I am here." Chu Qiao gently smiled. He always seemed to be saying that. She leaned back as she inhaled deeply, as though trying to remember his scent forever before closing her eyes. Tightly, she grasped his hand as though she would never ever let go. Xin Huang City was no longer as prosperous as it once was. Even though it was not night time yet, the pedestrians had already slowed to a trickle. Upon seeing Yuan Yu's carriage, all avoided the entourage like the plague. It was apparent that the city was merely a shadow of its former self, as it no longer had the crowds and bustle that it once boasted. As the carriage turned around Xianhua Street and entered Beiwu Road heading towards the west of the city, Chu Qiao was slightly taken aback and asked, "Are we not heading back to Yuan residence?" Yuan Yu smiled. "I am the Grand Marshal of the Wei Empire. Naturally, I live in my own official residence." Upon hearing that, Chu Qiao felt that all her tension loosened up. Shou could not help but smile. Yuan Yu teased her. "How could you let your emotions show so easily on your face? How are you worthy of the title of the King of Shuli? What is there to hide before you?" Chu Qiao naturally responded, taking Yuan Yu by surprise, after which he hugged her and praised, "Well said." There were not many people on the street, and naturally, the carriage was able to travel faster. Before long, they had reached the official residence situated beside Bila Lake in the west of the city. Chu Qiao had seen this residence before, as this was one of the side palaces of the Imperial Palace, and was constructed with such grandeur. The carriage did not stop and walked all the way into the gates. Only upon reaching the inner gates and after the servants had all entered into the compound did Yuan Yu leave the carriage with Chu Qiao following behind. Chu Qiao had immediately spotted Huaner standing at the side, her eyes completely red. Seeing Chu Qiao, Huaner's tears started to fall even though this was no longer the same residence. They were old friends. Chu Qiao felt a sense of nostalgia as well as she stretched out her hand. Huaner instantly galloped over on her horse and immediately tried to kowtow to Chu Qiao. Chu Qiao quickly tried to stop Huaner, yet Yuan Yu held her back and said, "From now you are the mistress of this residence. It is only natural that they greet you." Just as he said that, all the maidservants and servants had knelt down and prostrated themselves to her while saying, "Greetings to the mistress." Chu Qiao helped Hun up. After so many years, her appearance had changed slightly and had turned rather elegant and graceful. She had already become a supervisor for dozens of maidservants in the Yuan residence. Hun informed Chu Qiao while crying, "This servant knew that you would definitely return, lady." Your room has already been tidied up, and has always been reserved for you, lady. Chu Qiao felt rather embarrassed how she was being referred to as lady all the time. Yet Yu felt it was completely normal, as he informed, her room can be emptied. Bring all her belongings to my room. The crowd immediately understood the meaning behind that instruction. Huaner immediately started to command her maidservants to assist Chu Qiao in moving luggage, and Meidang and Jingjing also helped out. The residence was suddenly busy with life. Let's go, Yu said in her ear, and without waiting for her response, he pulled her hand and started to walk as night descended. The crescent moon hung in the sky, giving off a dim light. With torches being lit up on the sides, the warm lights illuminated the duo. Without speaking, Yao and Yu kept walking. The night winds brought along chills, yet it was uniquely refreshing. Yu and Yestos were full of embroideries, and occasionally brushing past Chula's sleeves, it gave off a rustling sound. A very light aroma could be smelled. It was not particularly strong, yet it seemed to be everywhere. This was a special breed of orchid, giving off a unique fragrance. Yu was always one who knew how to enjoy life. Perhaps this was due to his noble upbringing backed by centuries of the prosperity of the Yuan family. He was different from the normal nobles who ascended to wealth quickly. It was as though every single plant here could a noble aura, pushing aside the gate that was made out of Phoebe-Jinan wood. One could see a bedroom that was extremely elegant in design. It was not particularly majestic, yet it exuded a serene aura that one could barely comment on. Stopping on the thick and soft carpet, it felt like one was walking on clouds. The design of the decorations and furniture made the house rather elegant to live in, with a sense of overwhelming classicism. With 18 layers of veils lining the corridor, it headed straight to the inner bedroom. Are you tired? Standing before her, he asked. Chu Qiao shook her head and cupped her stomach. I merely feel really hungry. A maidservant dressed in red quickly addressed her. Food will be ready soon. Will master and mistress head to the dining room now? Yu shook his head and told Chu Qiao, I have some urgent matters and cannot eat now. Chu Qiao nodded. All right, go and settle your business first. The servants are still preparing the horses. I can still wait a while. After saying that, he hugged Chu Qiao. The embroideries on his chest tickled Chu Qiao's face. She could hear the vibrations coming from his chest saying, Winger, you are finally back. Chu Qiao smiled and returned the embrace. In her heart, there was an overwhelming sense of elation that she found impossible to describe with more words. In the room there was incense, inciting one's sleepiness tonight. Wait for me here. Chu Qiao's face turned slightly red, as she lifted her head up and smiled sweetly to Yu. Then, make sure you return early. Yu nodded. At this moment, the horses were ready. Yu told Chu Qiao, I will head to find the Seventh Highness. Eat up first and rest early. Right. Chu Qiao tiptoed and lightly packed on his lips. With a red tint on her face, she cooed into his ears, be careful on your way. A tinge of jubilance flooded Yu's eyes as he forcefully hugged Chu Qiao before heading out. Chu Qiao walked with him to the door. The winds were slightly strong as they blew at her white cloak. As she watched Yu disappear in the darkness, she leaned on the door as she broke into a smile. Actually, Xin Huang did not seem as scary as she had thought. From afar, Jingling's and Pingyan's voices could be heard as they broke out in laughter. Chu Qiao could not help but smile as well as she appreciated this moment. After she had dinner, she showered with the help of her maidservants.